Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, came to court this morning expecting to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and was planning to enter into a pretrial diversion agreement on a felony gun possession charge. But in the end, there was no deal. It all collapsed. The judge presiding over the matter said this case needed more information before the judge would accept this proposed agreement.
Hunter Biden is having a no good day. Very, very bad day. Just a tough go at things. Now, Hunter Biden was planning on taking a plea deal with the Justice Department today, but the deal was derailed by kind of Republicans, although that's not really all that true. And he ultimately ended up attempting to plead not guilty, but the judge wasn't even ready to accept the revised plea. Now, the story is a little complicated. I'm gonna try to walk you through it, but ultimately it's important to know that there was an investigation into Hunter Biden, and there's definitely some wrongdoing as it pertains to an illegal gun possession and his unwillingness to pay taxes in time, and he does suffer consequences for that. So, the Trump-era Justice Department apparently started investigating Hunter Biden back in 2018. Clearly, this was when Donald Trump was still president of the United States. It was his Justice Department who launched this investigation, and it expanded to examine multiple potential issues related to Hunter Biden's behavior, including allegations that he violated money laundering and foreign lobbying laws with his multi-million-dollar overseas business dealings. Now, through that investigation so far, the only thing that has been proven, the only thing that we have evidence of is how he didn't pay his taxes, okay? And there are other issues, including illegal possession of firearms. So in outlining the charges, the special prosecutor in this case, the attorney investigating this, and that's Weiss's office, said in an earlier statement that Hunter Biden received taxable income in excess of $1.5 million annually in calendar years 2017 and 2018, despite owing in excess of $100,000 in federal income taxes each year. He did not pay the income tax due for either year. That's just a long-winded way of saying he didn't pay his taxes. That is what the investigation found. And as a result, he was prosecuted for that. So that's the heart of the criminal prosecution, but there's also a gun charge. So let's talk a little bit about that. Biden faced a separate gun charge for illegally owning a Colt Cobra 38 special handgun. Now, the Justice Department, however, said that he had reached a pretrial agreement. Pay attention here because this is the relevant part. He had reached a pretrial agreement that most likely means that under certain conditions, the case may be wiped from his record. So that was part of the plea deal, right? Plead guilty to the tax-related charges and the gun charge can go away. Although there seemed to be a little bit of miscommunication on that, a little bit of misunderstanding. Now, the original plea deal included that prosecutors would recommend probation for the tax violations, while a separate felony gun charge would be dropped if Biden met certain conditions laid out in court. Thus, the plea deal that enraged the GOP. This is where the Republicans come in. Let's hear what they have to say.
The federal judge, Mary Ellen Noreika, has told the court that she is deferring a decision on the plea agreement for the president's son. She said she cannot accept or reject it. She's asked the parties for additional information. She told them at one point, quote, "You are telling me just to rubber stamp this deal that is form over substance." She had serious concerns not only about the agreement on misdemeanor tax charges, but also on this diversion program for the felony gun offense. She said she believed there may be elements and provisions within that agreement that are unconstitutional in her view.
Now, Noreika, the judge in this case, was appointed by Donald Trump. And so there are all sorts of accusations that the decision here might be politically motivated. Listen, I don't think that that is fair to say here, because while the judge made clear that she's unwilling to accept a plea agreement because she is concerned about the constitutionality of that plea agreement. There are other judges that have been appointed by Democrats who oversee cases pertaining to Republican wrongdoing. I think that it's unsavory, to say the least, to immediately brush off a judge's decision due to who they were appointed by. And even though for the time being she has rejected this plea deal, she is giving the Hunter Biden's team and the prosecutors here 14 days to make their case about the constitutionality of this plea agreement before moving forward. So she hasn't flat out rejected it. She hasn't rejected it, but she hasn't accepted it either. She is waiting for more information from both parties in order to make a decision as to whether or not this plea agreement is constitutional. Now, I do want to also just quickly talk about some of the other accusations from the Republican Party here. And in order to understand that, we need to go to the next video. So let's take a look at that.
Now, before all this happened, Republicans had blasted this potential deal as merely a slap on the wrist and had accused the Department of Justice of interfering in this investigation. Meanwhile, 2 IRS whistleblowers also accused the Department of Justice of slow-walking parts of this investigation. US Attorney Weiss, who we should note was nominated by then President Donald Trump in 2017, has denied allegations of political interference.
So that is what the Republican Party has been alleging about this case. They are alleging that the Biden administration has meddled in the Hunter Biden prosecution, even though they have failed to provide any evidence of that. In fact, let's talk a little bit about US Attorney David Weiss, who has been overseeing this investigation since 2018. We're talking about an individual who was appointed by the Trump administration to launch this investigation into Hunter Biden. Trump did that. Trump chose this guy. And so what happened after President Biden got elected and maybe had some say in how this prosecution moved forward? Well, let's go to graphic 4 here. US Attorney David Weiss has led the investigation. He was appointed by Trump, and Joe Biden kept him at his post so he could continue handling the probe. There is no public indication that Joe Biden or the White House ever tried to intervene in the probe. Now look, there could be future evidence that counters that, and I'm open to that evidence. We just have not seen it yet. And if people are uncomfortable with the idea that the son of the President of the United States might get some special treatment in that he might be granted a plea deal that allows him to skirt having to serve any time behind bars, I hear you. But I would just ask, especially to my friends on the other side of the political aisle, if you're gonna make that case, how are you then gonna turn around and argue that Donald Trump, who is on tape admitting to taking classified documents from the White House to his home in Mar-a-Lago, how are you gonna argue that that guy shouldn't face any consequences for it? How are you gonna turn around and argue that the FBI should be defunded because of this classified documents investigation into Donald Trump? You can't claim that you wanna hold those in positions of power accountable when it impacts Democrats, and then turn around and say you do not wanna do the same thing when it impacts someone on your side of the aisle. See, for me, you commit the crime, you should do the time. You should suffer the consequences. I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, progressive, socialist, I don't care. I think that the 2-tier justice system is sick. And I, for one, am tired of watching elite individuals break the law over and over again without suffering the same consequences that ordinary people suffer from. So again, if you're concerned about Hunter Biden getting let off easy and you identify as a Republican, just give me a little bit of consistency here. And stop making excuses and stop providing cover for the criminality on your side of the aisle. Now, I'll continue. So I want to give you some more statements from the judge here because Judge Mary Ellen Norica said that she had concerns about the parties seemingly linking the tax plea agreement to resolving a felony gun charge. During the proceedings, prosecutors confirmed that the investigation into Biden was in fact ongoing. And she asks, what if it is unconstitutional, meaning the plea deal? I'm trying to exercise due diligence and consideration to make sure we don't make a misstep. And so as a result, the judge has given, again, both parties 14 days to provide additional information to help her decide whether or not she should accept that plea deal. We'll see how it plays out. Now, according to reporters who were there on the scene as this all played out in real time, Hunter Biden looked frustrated, frazzled, almost irritated by how all this played out. But he committed crimes here. And if ordinary people decided, you know what, I made millions of dollars, I'm just not gonna pay taxes, and I'm gonna be in possession of an illegal weapon, they're not going to get any special treatment at all. Now, I don't know if Biden's gonna get special treatment. I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. But again, I just wanna reiterate, don't care if it's the son of the president. Don't care if he's someone who shares my political values and beliefs, although I doubt it. All I care about is making sure that we're consistent with our criminal justice system, that we're consistent in prosecuting people regardless of what their socioeconomic status is or regardless of how connected they are. That includes Democrats and Republicans. Because if we're going to have trust in our institutions, if we're gonna have trust in how punishment or consequences are doled out to individuals, we need to see that consistency, and we can't allow our political ideology to get in the way of whether or not we believe someone should suffer the consequences for their actions.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.